Welcome to Lesson 18. Lesson 18 is found on page 50 in your book. Salvete amici Latine. Thank you, Surgite. Oremus, Pater Noster. Pater Noster, quies in celis, sanctificetur nomen tuum. Adveniat regnum tuum. Fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie. Et dimiti nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimitimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Amen. And the table blessing, benedic Domine nos, et haec tua dona, quae de tua largitate, sumus sumpturi, per Christum Dominum nostrum. Amen. Recitemus, O-S-T-mus tisint, voco, voco, vocas, vocat, vocamus, vocatis, vocant, bam, bas, bat, bamus, batis, bant, vocabam, vocabam, vocabas, vocabat, vocabamus, vocabatis, vocabant, sum, est, sumus, estis sunt, eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratis, erant, ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritis, erunt, mensa, mense, mensam, mensarum, mensis, mensas, mensis, arum, is, as, is, servus, servi, servo, servum, servo, servi, servorum, servis, servo, servis, us, o, e, orum, is, os, is, donum, doni, dono, dona, donorum, donis, donis, a, orum, is, a, is. What are our 5 case names? Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative, and which case is used for the subject or predicate noun. Nominative, which case shows possession, the of case. Genitive, which case is used for the indirect object, the to, for case. Dative, which case is used for the direct object. Accusative, in which case is used for many prepositions, the in, by, with, from case. Ablative. Great job, you have learned so many grammar forms at this point. Sedete. The Latin saying for lesson 18 is Agnus Dei qui tollis peccata mundi. Agnus Dei qui tollis peccata mundi. It means Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. Agnus Dei qui tollis peccata mundi is found in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 29. These are words that are proclaimed by John the Baptist to the Jews about Christ the Messiah. Like the Sanctus, which we discussed and learned all the way back in lesson 11, the Agnus Dei is also an ancient part of church worship and church liturgy. It's sung also as the Sanctus in beautiful Gregorian chant. One more time, listen to our new Latin saying, Agnus Dei qui tollis peccata mundi. Now repeat with me. Agnus Dei qui tollis peccata mundi. Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. One more time. Agnus Dei qui tollis peccata mundi. Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. Now listen to the new words in our vocabulary list as I read them. Agnus, agni, lamb. Injuria, injuriae, injury. Insula, insulae, island. Oculus, oculi, eye. Eius, eye. Tuus, your, singular. Appello, I address. Do, I give. Narro, I tell. Stow, I stand. Today we have a mixed list. Can you identify any nouns in our list? Yes, agnus, injuria, insula, and oculus are all nouns. What declension is agnus and oculus in? They are second declension masculine nouns. How did you know this? Because us is the nominative singular case ending. What about injuria and insula? What declension are those nouns in? Yes, they are first declension feminine nouns. And how did you know this? Because of the a endings. Very good. What about verbs? Are there any verbs in our list today? Yes, there are. Apello, do, naro, and sto are all verbs. There are two words left in our list, meus aum and tuus aum. What part of speech are these words? You're right, they're adjectives. Remember, adjectives have two endings, and adjectives are words that modify nouns or pronouns. For example, meus au means my. I could say my hat, or my bike, or my mother. Tuus au means your. I could say your hat, your mother, your bike. Notice that tuus means your in the singular, referring to only one person. Are you ready to recite our new list? Repeat after me. Anus, anyi, lamb. Inuria, inurie, injury. Insula, insulae, island. Oculus, oculi, eye. Meus aum, my. Tuus aum, your. Apello, I address. Do, I give. Naro, I tell. Sto, I stand. Excellent. Let's go back now and discuss derivatives. For insula, insular is a derivative. Insular means isolated or alone, having to do with living on an island, perhaps. A derivative of oculus would be binocular. Binocular has to do with both eyes. You use a pair of binoculars if you want to view an object that is far away, like a telescope. Donate is a derivative of do. To donate is to give to a cause or a charity. Narrator is a derivative of naro. A narrator is a person who tells a story or an event. A derivative for sto would be status. Status is referring to your position in reference to your relationships to others. Now please go back and underline the Latin root of these derivatives. Last of all, let's look at our new grammar form, future tense endings. So in lesson 16, we learned the imperfect tense endings. Remember, all the way back in lesson 1, you learned the personal pronoun or the present tense endings. Remember that tense is an attribute or a characteristic of a verb. It indicates the time that an action occurs. So if something is happening in the present, it is happening now. If something is happening in the future, it hasn't happened yet, but it will happen. The imperfect tense indicates an action begun in the past, but not completed or perfected at the time of some other event. So the helping verbs, remember, was and were, are used with the imperfect tense, as well as the suffix ing added to the verb. I was walking, I was running, I was calling. The future tense, as I said, indicates an action that has not yet happened but will happen. So this time we use the helping verb will along with our main verb. I will walk, I will call, I will run. Today our goal is twofold. We want to memorize the future tense endings, and we also want to recognize verbs in the future tense. Listen as I recite the future endings and observe the differences between the future tense endings and the imperfect tense endings, which we learned last week. Ready? Listen. Bo, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, boot. One more time. Bo, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, boot. Did you observe any differences between the imperfect and the future tense endings? Well, the imperfect tense has an A after the B, and that's consistent throughout all of the tense endings. But the future tense endings have the letter I or the U after the B, except in the first person singular, which is BO. Listen one more time as I recite the future tense endings, and you will recite them with me. Bo, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, boot. All right, now it's your turn. Recite the future tense endings with me. O, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, boot. Again, O, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, boot. One more time. O, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, boot. Great job. Now let's practice reciting our personal pronoun endings in the present tense, our imperfect tense endings, and our future tense endings. Are you ready? Begin. Present tense, OST, moose, tis, nt. Imperfect, bom, bos, bot, bamus, batis, bont. And future, O, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, boot. Great job. Before we conclude, let's practice identifying the tense of verbs. So I will give you a verb and you tell me what tense it is in. Are you ready? Amabitis. Amabitis is in the future tense. Good. Amat. Amat is in the present tense. Orabas. Orabas is in the imperfect tense. Laborabamus. Laborabamus is in the imperfect tense. Portabo. Portabo is in the future tense. Were you able to identify those verbs, the tense of those verbs correctly? All you have to do is look at the tense ending, right? And see if it is a tense ending in the present or imperfect or future. So amabitis, bitis tells us future. Amat, the T tells us we're in the present tense. Or abas, bas tells us imperfect tense. Laborabamus, bamus tells us imperfect tense. And portabo, bo tells us future tense. Let's try a few more. Hopefully at this point you have the hang of it. Ready? Laudabunt. Future. Ambulabam. Imperfect. Laborabis. Laborabis is the future. Adoratis. Adoratis present. Parabam. Parabam is in the imperfect tense. Good, again. Larabunt, bunt, future. Ambulabam, bam, imperfect. Laborabis, bis, future. Adoratis, tis, present. And parabam, bam, imperfect. It takes a bit of practice to get used to this, but before long you'll get the hang of it. There will be some more words in which you need to identify the tense in your workbook exercises. So keep practicing. Remember to look at the tense ending. That tells you what tense you are in. This concludes lesson 18. See you next time.